You have found yourself on another episode of Locked On Bulls. In today's episode, me and Pat are going to discuss the Bulls and Pistons rumors around Zach LaVine trade. We're also going to talk about the Bulls' loss to the Los Angeles Lakers and the 2024 All-Star starters. All that and more on today's Locked On Bulls.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily podcast on the Chicago Bulls. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for tuning in to Locked On Bulls, member of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. That's Pat the Designer, host and creator of the Windy City Breeze, and host of the Chicago Bears podcast over at ESPN 1000. I'm Haize, host and creator of Chicago Bulls and Chicago Bears Central YouTube pages and podcasts. Pat, no ad sponsor today at the top of the show, so we're going to get right into it. The Bulls and Pistons, man, we've had now 2 days of substantiated rumors with the Bulls and Pistons. Reportedly that they are having talks. The linchpin in it is that the Bulls want one of the blue chip players from the Detroit Pistons. They're agreeing on Bogdanovich, but the Bulls want one of either Jaden Ivey, Jalen Duren, or Arcade Cunningham. And right now the Detroit Pistons are being resistant to that. Now, when you hear about that trade, you actually talked about the Pistons could be in. We talked about the Pistons dipping their toe in Zach LaVine a couple of months ago.
A lot of different.
Right now, though, the thing that makes this different than some of the other rumors is that we're hearing that they are actively engaged in talks. We've heard rumors of teams' interest and things like that. This is actively engaged in talks. The only other talks that we've heard the Bulls are in is when they called about Darius Garland, got hung up on. They called about DeJounte Murray, got hung up on. This is actual talks to try to get a deal done. How you feeling, Pat?
I mean, listen, it sucks, right? But we're at a point right now where you've got to take whatever the best deal available is. It's time for everybody to move on. It feels like you're at an impasse where Zach LaVine, if this doesn't go through, right, Zach LaVine's probably on this team, and you've seen the better brand of basketball, at least up to the last couple of games, without Zach LaVine on the floor. Now, I do think you're missing something while not having Zach LaVine on the floor, and that's another shooter that can go out and get that job done for you. And that's why you see the Bulls struggling in a lot of these games, because it's just a math prop. Can you knock down more threes than the other team? Bringing in Bogey, to me, I think does do that. I love that his name is a part of this. Can you find a way to get one of these young players in here? I'm very confused that they're not willing to move off Jaden Ivey. Like, they basically hate him.
You always say that, but that was start of the season. They actually been playing him considerably more.
That's because everybody else sucks. Like, you get to
the whole team.
Like,
they have 5 wins on the season. Everybody sucks, including Jaden Ivey. Like,
it's just like, well, he sucks. We all suck, so we might as well just put him out there. Like, no, but
now that sounds like a meeting of Mariah Mills' mind. Like, that's what that sounded like.
I don't have my soundboard here, but meets to the point. But no, I think at the end of the day, to me, with this move by the Pistons, is you got to take what you can get for Zach LaVine, because I just don't believe that the relationship for something successful to be built here is still here. And it's not to say I don't want Zach on the team. It's not to say I don't think that Zach can win on this team. I just don't think he can win on this team with Billy Donovan here, because those two minds not meshing is not going to allow for success. You got to take what you can get. And to me, what the Pistons are offering right now, a Bogey, if you can get one of those pieces out of them, where you get one of the younger pieces in place, then yeah, you're talking about maybe something working in the Bulls' favor, maybe having that addition by subtraction, basically, of Zach LaVine.
And I get what you're saying, and this season has definitely been up and down. And I look at it and say, like, Bogdanovich and what he could bring here, shooting wise, not needing the ball in his hands. Those are all things that definitely fit in with what this team is trying to do, with move the ball around, things like that. It just comes down to, and Casey Johnson was over on Bulls Talk podcast thing. He said this, he says that he is more sure than ever, and from being around the team and traveling with the team, that something needs to get done. And even going so far as to say that while Zach has still been supportive of his teammates, you could definitely tell something fishy is going on around there. And keep in mind, the Bulls initially announced that Zach LaVine was going to be out for 2 weeks. They recently changed that today to say that, no, now he'll be re-evaluated in 2 weeks, which coincides magically with the trade deadline. So they're clearly trying to keep him out. Doesn't necessarily mean that they have a deal in place for sure, but considering he's now been injured twice, they probably don't want to risk it, and they're going to see what they can get And I do think that the Bulls, while they're not willing to take any deal, I do think that they will take the best deal by the trade deadline.
And I think that's the problem, right? The best deal available might not be a good deal. You're losing this deal no matter what, right? You're not going to feel like you're paying Zach LaVine 15% more to leave. He's going to get a nice little boost in his bank account. You're paying or you're getting rid of a player who's definitely going to be a better player than anybody you get back. And you're going to be on the end of this deal where you just kind of go, oh, that's all we could get for Zach LaVine, huh? Yeah, that is all you can get for Zach LaVine right now because teams know the relationship with Zach here is not working. How do they know? Because you think Zach's agent isn't reaching out to some of these teams as well to say, hey, we would love to get a deal done to get Zach to come play with your
Technically,
team.
if they do that, it'd be tampering and they could come down with heavy fine. So I hope they're not doing that.
I mean, listen, come on now. It's Rich Paul. What conversation we really want to have on this is all I'm saying. But no, I feel like, right, like you know that there's those conversations that happen throughout the league. And so I assume that there's going to be some kind of there's this feeling around the league that Zach LaVine is a nice number 2 player, maybe a great number 3 at best. And he just doesn't help enough for winning for us to bring him in. That's why you're in talks with teams like the Pistons, because say you bring Zach LaVine in with a Cade Cunningham. Zach LaVine looked at his best when he had a point guard that was willing to pass the ball to him. If you got Cade giving him the ball, all right, cool. Maybe Zach LaVine's able to return to that former player. That's why I think Charlotte might be a team that at some point could come calling. That's why I think, right, as you get closer to the deadline, the teams that are, as Brian Windhorst said, out on free agency are going to be the teams that are going to hit you up. And guess what? They usually don't have great players to send back. So I think you're in a no-win situation at this point. And this is more about moving on and starting something different than it is about actually getting better from this trade.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Like, I mean, it's a solid enough trade. I don't think it's a great trade. I know you're higher on Jaden Ivey than I am now. I mean, he's been balling so far this month. If you look at his month of January so far, he's 28 minutes per game, 17.8 points per game. He's shooting that on 45% clip from the field, 32% from three-point range, taking 5 of those a game, and 4 rebounds and 5 assists. Listen, that's solid.
Yeah.
That's
and
solid.
He's been efficient while doing it, right? I think he had a 30-point game, 30-plus point game, I want to say, last week versus the Timberwolves, and it was a very efficient game. It was him getting to his shots. It was him finding his spots, picking his spots very well. I guess the tough part about all of it is, are you just getting it because they suck? Right? Like, is that really what it's coming down to, that you're seeing these point totals because nobody else on the Pistons can score? I mean, they're still trying to hold on to Killian Haize for some reason. What the heck is? I gotta let it go, bro. Like, I'm glad Koo is finally starting to make the change. You know what I mean? Shout out Koo. He's going through it this season. But
hey, listen, his fans have been killing him. It's like, hey, y'all a 5-win team. You're taking your anger out on the wrong person.
Hey, that's okay. Yeah, take your anger out on the people you need to take it out on. Little Caesars. But at the end of the day, I look at, you're making this type of deal basically to just do something different. I don't feel like I like Jaden Ivey as a young player and maybe he could develop into something, but I don't think that he's, the next superstar in the NBA by any means. I don't think that he's going to be a top 15 player. I think that he's going to be a nice piece that you can add to what eventually, hopefully, Kobe White can come out and end up doing, right? I think that's the problem with the Bulls for the rest of the season, is that's what all the deals are going to be. Right? Nobody's going to give you the world for DeMar DeRozan. Nobody's going to give you the world for Zach LaVine. This is what you get. You waited too long. You waited it out. And guess what? Now you get to see if you can get Bogdanovich. And like, Bogdanovich is 35 years old at this point?
34.
You're talking about him as a valuable piece.
Yeah, but the thing is, too, is that the benefit that they also get from Bogdanovich is something that people I know aren't going to really look at, is that he only has a partially guaranteed deal next year. So if the Bulls can come off that, which you're saving quite a bit of money from looking at LaVine's contract, if that's what you want to go. And I'm sure with Emperor Palpatine, a.k.a., Jerry Reinsdorf down there, that's something they're looking at for sure as well.
I mean, there's a lot of Palpatines out here. I'm not going to lie. As you look around that owner's room, they all kind of look the same.
That's accurate. That's accurate to a degree.
Bro, when you look through the owner's room, bro, like, I ain't gonna lie to you, like Bill, not Bill, what's his name? Owner of the Patriots. He got a little he's got a little Palpatine to him too.
Oh, well, he is actually evil, so that makes complete sense. Like that tracks. That's not even like You ain't said much of nothing on that one, bro. That actually tried.
All right, do you have it? He's actually
I'm just
evil.
saying,
That's crazy.
Robert Kraft is actually evil.
Robert Kraft, yeah.
With that said, next up, we're going to be talking about the Bulls' loss to the Lakers. Before we get into that, though, I want to talk to you guys about one of our sponsors, and that is eBay Motors. Our partner at eBay Motors have teamed up with Locked On Fantasy Basketball host Josh Lloyd to bring you some of the best fantasy picks each week, all season long, whether you are prepping for a daily draft or scouting the waiver wire. Every week, we're going to provide you players that are guaranteed to fit your roster. So let's see who Josh has picked out for us on this week's eBay's Guaranteed Fit Fantasy Picks of the Week. He actually has on here, Patrick Williams is listed on here, saying this, with Zach LaVine, while Zach LaVine is out, Williams gets a minutes usage bump enough to be put into consideration for fantasy leagues. Keep in mind, in the 2 games so far with Zach LaVine being out, Patrick Williams has scored like a combined 10 points, and he got absolutely cooked by LeBron James. Pat, how do you think about Patrick Williams being the fantasy pick of the week? Josh Lloyd from Locked On Fantasy Basketball is going to help you win your fantasy championship, and eBay Motors knows a championship team is about each player being the perfect fit. Same with your vehicle. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you can make sure your ride stays running smoothly. Brake kits, LED headlights, roof rack bumpers, whatever your baby needs, eBay Motors has it. And with the eBay Guaranteed Fit, it's guaranteed to fit your ride the first time, every time, or your money back. Plus, at these prices, you're burning rubber, not cash. Speaking of, I actually did have to use eBay Motors here recently. The fan in my car went out, so while the AC and heat worked, the fan wasn't blowing. So I got that part off eBay Motors. It was very easy. I ended up replacing it myself. You guys probably aren't that handy because you're going to Ja Rule and Nelly concerts. You're stupid.
What's going on with the Ja Rule and Nelly again?
Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. eBay Guaranteed Fit, available to U.S. customers. Eligible items and exclusions do apply.
Ja Rule and Nelly, just pow, pow, pow. Just every time, bro.
Hey, I'm just saying, man. I gotta stay consistent, bro. I'm never gonna ease up on that, bro. The concert is gonna be done. The tour is gonna be done. I'm still gonna be bringing it up because y'all went to that.
I feel like it already is. I feel like
it probably is. It may be. It may be. But anyway, Pat, the Bulls lost to the Lakers last night, man. This morning technically is when they lost to the Lakers because that game went late. But how'd you feel about this game, Pat? Like, first quarter gave us some hope. Second quarter, about 3 minutes into the second quarter, is like the Bulls said, "Hey, wait a second, are we still here? Are we actually playing the game?" And by the way, the Bulls have been in LA now for 4 days. They're actually staying there through tomorrow until they go to Portland. So I think they may have been hanging out a little bit too much, bro, because that's what it felt like.
I mean, listen, the Bulls going into LA yesterday was you rarely talk about teams winning games in the second quarter. But they sure lost it in the second quarter because even when you look at the third and the fourth, it wasn't bad. It's just they gave up a big quarter defensively. They weren't able to get any stops offensive. I mean, the turnovers, you were giving them so many turnovers to finish out that game. I mean, it was 9 turnovers to finish out a 12-0 run in the second quarter. That's how you lose a game right there. You spent the rest of the game trying to fight your way back, and you gave them an offensive advantage. And guess what? Their shooters were hot at that point, and your shooters were not. So that game yesterday was, I'll say it was a letdown. I thought that it was a game that the Bulls should have been able to get. It was a game that the Bulls should have been able to win, and they just weren't. And it was sad to see it. It was sad to say. It was sad to watch. Especially, and I think the worst part was, right, there was a part of you where it's like, okay, we can just go to bed on this. This game's over. We're done here. We could talk about this tomorrow. It's going to be what it's going to be. I'll watch the fourth quarter. And then all of a sudden they start climbing their way back into it. It gets to a 9-point game. You're like, oh my God, I got to actually sit here and watch this. Like, that was the biggest gut punch there. But I mean, overall, I thought that the Bulls just did a bad job getting back to the fundamentals. And they were just mental mistakes after mental mistake, too many turnovers. They were dumb turnovers too. It was like turnovers were like 2K turnovers. Like the guy walks up behind you and just like pops the ball out of your hands. I was just like, what the heck are we doing here? It was bad.
It was literally like they got caught in the reboot of the system. It was
there
bad.
Were 5 Devon Carters out there is what I'm saying.
5 Devon Carters out there is terrible. But the thing that made this game even crazier is that the Bulls won so many of the areas that typically you want to see a team win in, right? They out-rebounded the Los Angeles Lakers. We had more second chance points than them. They killed us in points off turnover, of course. We were leading by like 10 points in the paint up until the fourth quarter. We ended up losing that battle by 10, though, and we had 18-4 second chance points. We had more fast break points than them. That's typically where the Bulls win these games at. And I don't want to overlook the fact that the Lakers were just hot. 64% shooting from three for the game is that it's hard to beat any team that's that hot from 3-point range.
Yeah, I mean, listen, once they got the shot falling, it just kept falling.
It was falling from the start of it.
Yeah. Well, once they walked in the building, it just kept falling. It was
like LeBron's hairline.
Wow, that's crazy. He got to start. Hey, listen, I'm not gonna lie to you. Let this go. Let this start to be back here. Oh,
you getting there a little bit, bro.
Oh, no,
like your hairline that went by about a quarter inch.
It ain't nothing going back here, baby. We all good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no. We saw when you had the long hair. You had the B2K hairline, and we saw you, bro. We saw you.
Bro. Hey, no. Never go. Hey, that joint that was down. Bro, this hairline used to be crazy, boy. You saw that mug down at the bottom, but nah. Let this hairline start going. Y'all not gonna see me for 2 weeks. I'm gonna just come back just like LeBron did. It ain't gonna be gradual, nothing, just full foul.
You gonna get the Beijing, bro?
Oh no, I ain't Beijing and nothing. I'm getting real hair put back in. I ain't boozering this. This ain't no boozer, dog.
That wasn't Beijing. That was shoe polish. That was different.
No, Boozer said, "Oh boy, didn't know how to use it." He was talking about that on.
Yeah, he did say that. I mean, it was it was before Beijing really started getting used heavily. So,
all right, bro, that man had paint on his head, bro. And you know what I had forgotten about? Right, the first game is the one we always think about with that one. But remember the games after where it's no. Remember the games after where it was slowly fading away.
That's fine.
And his hairline was still in the same place, but it kept getting lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter. I had forgotten about that part. I was hilarious. Cracking up at that. But anyway, no, the Bulls lost to the Lakers was a bad one because I felt like you let the Lakers do something they haven't done all season.
Yeah. I mean, when you get a team shooting that hot and you can't shoot yourself, like it's hard. Like when you look at the Bulls offense in a vacuum, like let's just say you look at what the Bulls shot, the way that they scored, we had 6 players in double digits. Yep. The Bulls offense wasn't bad last night. Like they had times, of course, where they went through scoring droughts that unfortunately is something that we do as a team, but it's just the defense, they're not getting key rebounds, the turnovers hurt, and then the Lakers hot shooting. It's just hard to overcome that, man.
Yeah, I mean, look, sometimes teams have a hot night, but it was so odd because this isn't the Lakers team we've seen all season, right? If this was the Lakers team the teams are worried about, it just felt like another game where you just look and you're like, how do you guys just let this continue to happen? Mm-hmm. Like, what is it about you that teams look at and be like, the Bulls are here tonight, late shots everywhere. But again, it goes back to, I feel like the Russell Westbrook line, right? I feel like the Bulls lost this game more than the Lakers won it. Because it was when you give teams that many opportunities to score on you, it's the NBA. They're going to score on you.
Yeah, but I mean, I can't take away from that being your take. I feel like the Lakers won this game more than the Bulls lost it just because of that hot shooting. Like D'Angelo Russell is probably not going to have another game like this for the rest of the season.
Well, here's the tough part. We already know that he had a good enough version of it for DeMar DeRozan possibly to be traded for him. So.
That's not happening either.
Hey, dog, you know that's how them deals go down, right? Like, it must be the Bulls see him and be like, I told y'all he could play. And it's like, here we go.
That was the Gar Pax era. They used to love trading for players that cooked them. Like, it'd be like, oh, crap. He scored 26 on us on 12 shots. We got to get him the next time he's a free agent.
Bro, that mug get here.
Luke Cornett was here in a Bulls uniform.
Well, I ain't gonna lie to you. Luke Cornett actually been balling a little bit this season. I think Luke Cornett's averaging like 14 points. Look up how much Luke Cornett's averaging.
I'm going to have to fact check you on that one.
Maybe that was just for that week.
I was about to say, because Pat you live in a vacuum sometimes. You'd be like, oh, crap, he averaged 17 points this week. That means he's been doing the whole season. Luke Cornett on the season is averaging 5.1 points per game.
Never mind. He had a 14-point week. Man, what am I paying attention to what Luke Cornett
did? He only scored in double digits 3 times this whole season.
Was it all?
Where did he have a 14-point? Did they play one game that week?
Was it all 1 week? I don't know. Anyway, Bulls sucked. That's it. Hey, bottom line, the Bulls did not get it done. And Luke Cornett could have been Robert Horry. Remember that. Wise words from Jim Boylan.
Trauma is real.
Hey, it's ugly in here, man. Hey, follow. Oh, hold on. I'm finna close the show. We got to let you guys know about Grammarly before we get into this final topic. Talking about these all-star game starters and the lack thereof for the Chicago Bulls. But Grammarly is a very interesting program, especially for some of us in the world who we're not as great at spelling as the other, and remembering where punctuation goes. I don't even think about where punctuation goes anymore. You want to know why? Because of Grammarly. When you're stuck at work, writing and just typing things out, Grammarly can help you start ideas, outlines, even give you tips on different titles and topics. I've actually used Grammarly a little bit. If there's one of those slow days in the middle of about July when the Bears just basically aren't doing anything, and you say, give me 10 possible taglines for video ideas, and they'll throw some ideas at you that sometimes really do hit, and all of a sudden it's something you didn't even think about. I mean, you can use this in so many different ways. You got a big presentation coming up. You can let Grammarly create a personalized outline to get you organized. You can transform your ideas into a compelling presentation. You need that draft. You need to draft an important email and don't know where to start. Grammarly has suggestions that can get you jump started writing there as well. And the best part is it's not like a lot of these other apps out here, right? It's free. So start being more productive at work. Go to Grammarly.com/LockedOnBulls to download free today. That's Grammarly.com/LockedOnBulls.
Pat, man, how did you feel almost losing your life today, man? Y'all don't know what Pat went through today, man.
I mean, listen, it was wild downtown today. So like, I wasn't in any danger at any point, but yeah, it was. Somebody had some gunmen jump out, and it was like a Batman movie down there. And then all of a sudden, we had a meeting the whole time, and then all of a sudden, they were just like, "Nobody leave, just be safe out here." So, to all the people who were, hopefully, check on your people and stuff like that. And if you were affected by that, sending prayers to you, because there were 2 people shot down there right by me. So,
yeah, prayers up. All jokes aside, with that said, the All-Star starters were released. Causing a lot of controversy on some of the players that were picked in there over others. Jalen Brunson, not an all-star starter this year. How do you feel about the starting fives, Pat?
It just, I don't know, man. Like the all-star starters this year, I will say this, it feels more balanced. It feels like it actually, like, because what is it? It's like 80% fan vote, 10% player, 10% coaches, stuff like that. Like, I feel like we got the right names in the All-Star game this season. And so I am excited for the All-Star game, and you should be down there. And I mean, like, listen, that's going to be a fun game to watch. I think all of the setup, I'm really excited to see who we're going to see in a lot of the different contests. Dunk contests can die. But, I'm actually, I feel like this is probably the most balanced the All-Star starters have been for a while. And it's probably because it's in Indiana. No shade to in Indianapolis. But, like, outside of Halliburton, there's no pacer I would really put in. And Halliburton's one of the better players in the league. So it feels like he's supposed to be there. Remember, like, it came to Chicago and it was just like, Zach LaVine's an all-star. And it was like, oh, okay. Thanks. Appreciate that, guys. Uh-oh. Did we lose Haize? I think we might have lost Haize on that one. I don't know what happened there. But, or did I lose me? Check. Y'all still hear us? Y'all still hear us out there in the real world? Dunk contest nowadays is boo-boo. Pat is now Haize. Okay, I'm just glad y'all can still see me. We must have lost Haize on that one. I just think that at the end of the day, let me go full screen here. I don't know what happened there. I just think that at the end of the day, when you look at the All-Star starters right now, when you look at what this All-Star team has been, I'm glad to see more of a concerted effort to actually get the right names in there and not just make this about a popularity contest. I think a lot of us still want the All-Star game to be something more than what it has been for a while. And I want to see more excitement in all of this. I want to see more excitement in the events that are happening in the All-Star game. I want to see more excitement, right? Like it's gotten stale. Like to the point where I literally said, we should remove the All-Star game. I literally was a believer in removing the All-Star game not being worth having, because we all see these stars. We all see all these people, and they don't care about the game. I wonder if this is going to be the year where they do care about the game. And I think the biggest to bring this back to a very Bulls-centric topic here, right? How do you guys feel about the fact that the Bulls basically don't even have anybody that's worth considering for the All-Star game? That, to me, that puts you in such a place, in such a mindset that should tell you everything about this team that you need to know. Right? Like, you're sitting here talking about starters. You're sitting here talking about the bench unit. What Bulls player would you put on here? What Bulls player would you look at that you feel like even deserves to have his name even mentioned here? Maybe Kobe White's getting to that point. He doesn't have a big enough star around the league yet for you to sit there and put him into this game, even as a reserve to me right now. But I mean, Giannis, Embiid, Tatum, Tyrese Halliburton, Damian Lillard. The fact that we don't have anybody who you can sit there and talk about in competition with those. Yeah, Damian Lillard just came from the West. The fact that we don't have anybody who's out there that can even be in competition to be on this list tells you everything you know about this team. You got nice players. You don't have stars. You don't even have all-stars right now. It's tough to watch. It's tough to see. And it's one of those things where you look at it and you understand why there needs to be a change. Haize, are you okay, my boy?
No, I was kidnapped. They're trying to come get me. The Packers fans finally tried to come get me, bro.
Hey, man, it's tough, man. We lost you for a minute. What are your thoughts on the All-Star starters? I've just been riffing here. I literally was I basically was talking about how the Bulls don't have any All-Star starters, and you know how that you don't even have all-stars. Like, stars in the game is different. Stars sometimes don't make it to get a snub. You don't even have all-stars.
The thing is, it makes sense to me. I wish I could make an argument for somebody being an all-star starter on this Bulls team this year, but I can't. Even with the way Kobe White's playing, he didn't start off the season that way, and he still, you know, it takes a while to get that national media attention. So I'm not mad at no Bulls being all-star starters this year. I couldn't even... In fairness, I couldn't make the argument. From a fan, the meathead, I could definitely make an argument for Kobe to be an all-star. But in being fair with it, it makes sense, bro.
No, it's not that it doesn't make sense. It's just a matter of, doesn't that tell you what your team is? Doesn't that tell you that continuity ain't the answer?
No, it has nothing to do with continuity. Comes to do with the skill level of your team. So. And where your team is. You can't be a team that starts off 5-18 or whatever we were and have all-stars. No matter, we're playing with a 61 win percentage since December, but you can't listen, you can't start off that way. I think when you look at the way this team has been playing, there are signs that say that maybe some continuity is the answer to a degree, but I'm not basing that based off what the all-star starters are or not.
Well, I just think it tells you the level of player that you have to me. And not even just the starters, right? Like, is anybody a reserve? Like,
the reserves haven't been named yet.
No, again, I know. I'm just saying, would you consider anybody on this team, just as somebody who covers the team, a reserve in the All-Star game this year?
No, but that's more so because of the team as a whole, not individual piece. Like, the team where the team is right now, we're fighting for a 9th seed. We barely have an identity. So, like, I can't link all-stars, especially when it's a popularity contest, to the state of the team. I just don't do that personally. I understand where you're coming from, but that's just not where I gauge the place of the team.
I would bet you any amount of money Trae Young's a reserve, and they're worse than us.
But it's also storylines for that. Trae Young's been an all-star before, and his team's gone on deep playoff runs within the last couple of years, which people have a short-term memory. Hell, Dame is an all-star starter.
Well, I mean, they're the second best team in the East. I would assume that Dame would.
True, but that's why, because his individual play ain't quite wouldn't quite get him there this season.
Yeah, I think that's I think the whole league kind of looked at Adrian Griffin and was like, "Nah, we get it. Put him in." No, I would say your reserves are probably going to have a list of guys on there who are struggling teams. Like I would say Mikal Bridges is probably a reserve. They're behind us. Paolo Banchero's probably a reserve. Paolo, they're right ahead of us. I think they got 3 more wins than the Bulls do this.
Paolo Banchero is not going to be an all-star reserve.
Oh, I guarantee he is.
I
would guarantee he is.
Well, and if he is, it's because of the name. It's not because his play is that dramatically better than players on the Chicago Bulls team. And his team is overachieving this year. Hell, they were the number 1 team in the East for the first month and a half of the season. Even Mikal
it's
Bridges,
slowly falling off.
Yeah, even in Mikal Bridges, you look at his stats, cool, but it's not like again. So that's why I'm not basing it based off All Stars, which is a popularity contest. Because if you look at that performance of those players, Mikal Bridges, don't get me wrong, he's a dog. I like Mikal Bridges, but I'm not putting him that much further above some of the players. Well, either DeMar or Kobe on this team. Overall, with their impact of the game, it's just that he's in a better situation.
I don't even think he's in a better situation.
I mean that team's kind of weird.
That team's kind of dog water, bro. I would say Mikal Bridges is probably better than DeMar right now because he's that was
not saying much. I mean, DeMar
that was about to be a crazy pause. I was about to say because he's giving you impact on both sides.
He's giving you impact on both sides of the ball.
Yeah. You know where I was about to go to.
I know where you're about to go with that. Yeah, I know you're about to go with that. He's making an impact with the D.
No, I was gonna say he's giving it to you on both sides, and that was gonna be wild. I mean, like,
let's go ahead and time. Let's wrap up the show, bro.
Shout out to Morris. Follow us on everything at Locked On Bulls. You can follow me on everything at Pat the Designer. Watch your back.
You guys can follow me at CEO Haize, man. I want to thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Locked On Bulls. We are free and available on every podcasting app and platform of your choice, as well as YouTube and the Odyssey app. For Pat the Designer, I'm Haize. This has been Locked On Bulls. Peace, y'all.